This is the research project.
But today we must take a wider look because of modern communication and modern technology. The whole world has become our neighborhood. And we are demographically moving closer and closer to each other, and we've become a neighborhood without becoming a brotherhood.
Journeyman is a platform where men can lay down their titles, grow together, learn from each other, and be accountable to each other. Many of us deal with several problems throughout our lives, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. At times, we may feel alone in our troubles. However, Journeyman is a space where you can feel safe expressing yourself with other men that are on the same path. Journeyman is a space for people like myself who never thought they would be living purposefully in their life.
Hey, Sharpen, man. Dogs are barking. Dogs in the house. Let me play this, man. You got to listen to the words for a little bit. You got to let this sink in a little bit. Hey. I'm trying to get George to dance, man, but he ain't moving.
I do that every night.
Look at my life. Look at the stripes. Look at the cost. Look at the
Yeah.
Look at the chances.
All right. Wow, man. Journeyman, what is going on, man? This is Jose with Journeyman, and to my left, I got my two brothers in the room today. And man, I got George and Patrick. What's going on, brother Patrick? How you been, man?
All's good.
Yeah.
Since the last time we met. We have been on a world tour with Journeyman. We have been.
I had to start it off.
We have been on a world tour. I keep telling Jose, we say, hey, if you want us to speak or if you want to invite us to these places or, and then they call us.
Right.
Hey, we'd like you to, for these events.
Yeah.
And I go, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say, man. I'm nervous. But you know what? God is opening amazing doors.
Yes, he is,
and, I had a speaking engagement. Shout out to Pastor Anthony at Victory Life Center for allowing me to come to speak to a men's meeting. You had an amazing event. George had an amazing speaking event.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to see what God is doing with not only with Journeyman, but with men in general in the community.
Yeah, man. It's been a busy couple of weeks for all of us, man. And man, I'm just really excited to be here tonight. And again, man, do us a favor. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching us on social media, Facebook, man, do us a favor and share this broadcast with all your networks. We have a topic for you tonight, man. But again, what is Journeyman? Journeyman is on a mission to create communities of support surrounding commitment and accountability to strengthen the lives in the areas of faith, family, and community for men. And our conversations are truly about commitment and accountability. While we're continuing to focusing on our strengthening our weaknesses, what we're good at, our time management and learning, and overall increasing our knowledge and skill. That's what we focus on. Yeah, we're faith-based, man. We believe in Jesus. We actually do. Yeah. And, but what other spaces are really talking about Jesus and salvation, which is key and it's an essential part of our life. We want to deepen this conversation with men around the world and begin to have conversations about commitment and accountability while we feel that not a lot of men are having that. And man, when we create that space, man, we see men take off in the areas of faith, family, community, and that's amazing. So, man, that's what Sharpen's about. And tonight, man, we have another great guest back into the room. He's really not a guest. He's just a brother, man. He's just been super busy doing life and on his journey with family, had a baby and maybe another baby. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
I thought originally he was going to be the co-host of this thing. And then he showed up for a couple times. And then there was like 4 of us, sometimes 5. And then I just kept showing up. I was like the last guy that left the party. So here I am. But, we're really happy to have you here today. We're talking about fatherhood and talking about just what we deal with as men. And it's funny. We already started the podcast before. Well, we were talking before.
Yeah.
And I sent a text. They're like, hey, where you at? Because we started at a certain time. And I was outside, but I sent a text and I said, I just woke up. I'll be right there. but I knew that was gonna rattle some nerves. Man. And so I came in and they're like, man, we thought you were gonna be late. I said, hey, as the elder of this group, I have to keep you guys on your toes. So as men, we're all gonna talk about some amazing things tonight. Yeah. But little things. How do we deal with anger? How do we deal with when our plans don't go the right way? How do we deal with when somebody cuts us off, or maybe somebody showed up late, or maybe and so those are the things as men we still need to deal with. Let's say we're not being attacked by the big stuff, right? But it's still those things we still need to weed out, man.
Totally, man. And that's a really good intro into diving into our topic tonight. I can't even talk. I'm so tired, but we're gonna get through this, man. God is good, man. Today's topic, man, is the Fatherhood Unfiltered, the Dad Diary. And man, what George is bringing to the table tonight, man, is going to spark a conversation to make us think a little bit different as fathers. And man, just the significant importance of fathers, where fathers, men in general, shape the identity, they shape the values, and they establish a legacy for the journey ahead. And man, we're just really, really excited to dive in and let's welcome back George Ratanya. Yes, he is in, man. George Ratanya is in the studio today, man. He is an OG of Journeyman, man. He's a brother of ours. He's been launched into doing some great work with veterans, and he has an organization called Veterans in Action. And if you're looking on the screen, you can follow them on Instagram and get in contact with veterans who are seeking help or with resources in the areas of faith, family, community, and also mental health services, connections, and all that type of stuff for veterans, man. It's just a great organization. Glad to be a small part with my brother in it, man. And man, George has brought a lot to our community, and we're excited to have him in the studio, man. So let's dive in a little bit on the role of fathers, man. Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing here with your research, man, and what you found and all that, man. Kick us off, man. So, well, first off, how you been, bro? Like, good, I mean, bro. Let's start there.
I did have one more kid since the last time I've been on.
Yeah.
She's going to be one.
Wow.
But it's always good to be back with Journeyman. I see these guys all the time. So
It's
good. So I am thankful for this platform where we're able to speak truth and in faith, family, community, and definitely be able to connect with other men on topics that are not thoroughly discussed, topics that aren't really focused on, man, especially in a time where we see the political climate we're in, the societal climate, economic, all that stuff, and how men are generally under attack, man. And a lot of men don't talk about these topics because of vulnerability or et cetera, but I'm definitely thankful for Sharpen, and it's good to be back, bro.
Yeah, man, it's good stuff, man. So the role of the fatherhood, man, let's talk about that a little bit, or let's see what you got for us, man. Let's kick off the conversation.
So, last semester we were to do a final project on just societal impact and different things. So
for what school?
For University of Pacific. I'm a student at the University of Pacific, getting my degree in sociology with a minor in pre-law. And the goal is to transfer this fall. I'll be transferring to University of the Pacific McGeorge for my law degree in constitutional law. But as I was doing this, I decided to do mine on fatherhood, because every one of us here are fathers, and we grew up with or without a father. And so I'm a nerd. So my question was, what is the significance of societal consequences of children who don't have active fathers, especially, again, like I said, the time that we live in, where you see a lot of men you don't need a dad, or you don't need, like, all this crazy stuff. And my research question was, to what extent is the societal impact of children growing up without active and present fathers? And as I dove into it, like, I started thinking about how does this affect their development? How does this affect who they are? And in the research paper, I get into all that. And with that, it's like understanding that fatherhood, the role, it's essential. It's essential statistically. Data proves it time and time again. And I can share results from the CDC to the all these people that prove it, that fatherhood, the importance, it's detrimental for child development and family relationships overall. A lot of people will say you don't need to have, this and this, and nothing against, single mothers but you need an active father. You need a present father. And I would love to dive more into that.
Yeah, that's key, man, because the history, let's just share a little bit of vulnerability from my life. Like, so I have a father, love him, man. And, he's formerly incarcerated. He did his time, he and all that type of stuff. And so a portion of my life, I really didn't have him. But when he came out, he started to frame me a little bit more. And so he taught me hard work ethics. He taught me, he actually pushed me to go further in a lot of different areas. Why? Because he didn't want me to go where he was. And so there was an important aspect of that for my life that helped me shape me to this day. And I think that role of a father is so key, because there's always a void in your life if you don't have that foundational voice.
That's good.
And I think as a call to fathers, I think this is what this conversation tonight is really just a call to fathers to kind of identify ways that we can continue to build upon the legacy that we want to leave for our children, and so Patrick, how many kids you got, man?
I have 3.
3 kids.
3, yeah.
And how long you've been a father?
I have been a father. So when I met my wife, she had a 4-year-old, and shout out Mondo, who's in the military right now. And he's going to be 31. So I was a dad at, I would say 23, 24.
You could be my dad, bro.
Yeah.
Hey.
Don't
do that. Don't do that.
Hey,
it's going to start
go mow
somewhere.
the lawn. I've been a dad. Yeah. And then we have 20. My son Anthony will be 24, and my daughter Lisa will be 22. So I always tell people I have 3 adults.
Yeah.
3 kids, but they're adults right now, but they're still my kids.
Yeah. And I have an 18-year-old and a 11-year-old, 2 young men. And so a big gap, but just kind of learning how to be a father in these ways sometimes is a journey. For sure.
And in my area, my son Mondo it's my son.
Yeah.
He is my son through and through. But to learn how to be a stepdad, and to learn how to be a father, as much as we say, well, they're all the same.
Right.
There are unless you've been there are some tweaks in the title and the expectation there. So I'm familiar with both sides now. So
yeah. That's good, man. So George, what makes what did you learn through that research that you've come up with, man? What is some of that?
Definitely. No. And same, I have a daughter I'm a girl dad. I have a daughter, my wife and I, we're a blended family. I have a daughter who's 17, my stepdaughter she's my daughter. She's going to be 12. And we have 2 babies, a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, all girls. And the blended family in itself is a whole different dynamic. But, the research that I did, it just explored the various aspects of fatherhood, and how the influence of a father, whether it's, fostering emotional support, like Jose was alluding to, and also talking about the cognitive growth that children have. And, what's cool about this research is that not only did I get the data, but I was able to sit down with 8 of my fellow peers, and I interviewed them over the course of the semester. Some that had fathers, some that didn't have fathers, and as they shared their stories, it lined up with the data. It lined up. I interviewed men and women, and just basically alluding to the truth that fatherhood is an essential part of child development. It is a key a factor in the sense that the role of a father, the pillar of a family, and the pillars of community, and how fathers oftentimes serve as role models. They're more than just providers. So a lot of time you see society like, man, what can you provide? What can you give? But we are more than that. Knowing that studies have shown that if fathers that are involvement, there are positive outcomes to a child's life, including better emotional regulation. Like you were talking about, how do you deal with, which is ironic because they said men don't show emotion.
Yeah.
But, if you ask any man, what's the one emotion you're allowed to show? Anger. Anything else, they're going to critique you, right?
Yeah, that's good. But
including better emotional regulation, academic success, and just social behavior, and how fathers who are active and present, they contribute to a child's security and the child's identity. And you'll see that play out throughout their lives. So I do. The research showed that, and how traditionally fathers have always been seen as just the breadwinners. while mothers were the primary caregivers. But we see in today's society that the role of a father has expanded even more, in the sense that, dads are participating daily, like in children's lives, like, whether it's changing diapers or taking the kids to the recitals or taking them to school. It's not just no more where, back in the day where it was just mom, but how active dads are. And the American Psychological Association highlighted that engaged fathers are such a crucial aspect of children's lives, that it really does foster the resilience and the self-esteem that children need. And they need that in our society today.
Yeah. No, man, that is so key, man. Just kind of seeing the after effects of all of that, man. Like, I do a lot of work in underserved communities, and man, it's just the richness of underserved communities through the barriers and the things and the fatherlessness and all that other stuff, man. It's beautiful to see when it comes to live. But imagine these areas of focus where they had a father present, or they had a situation where they could be raised in these areas, and how much more society would be shifted, right? Not, it wouldn't be so one-sided, And so for me, I'm all about equity and like aligning that opportunity for families to be better in their life, because I think that's so important. And I also think too that some of that research is also factual in the point. And you just talk to probably, you look at somebody who's watching this right now, they're probably relating to that, like in these areas of struggle, So go ahead, Patrick, you got some?
Yeah. I think I'm just going to pinpoint it a little bit more specific when we say fathers, is to good, healthy fathers.
Yes.
And so I worked in juvenile hall for many years, over 20 years. And I was able to see the beginning stages of jail and prison. And so at juvenile hall, everything from 11 years, the youngest I ever saw was 9, go into juvenile hall and to see the family dynamics. And then I was a house arrest officer, so I was actually in the homes with the families. Yes, statistically, very rarely was there a father. But even more than that, a good, healthy father, because I would see there were fathers around.
Yeah.
But how else do you think that kid got into drugs or gangs or cussing everybody out? They learned it from the dad.
Yeah.
And so we can talk about being fathers and staying married and staying with the home, but to be more specific about it, to be good, healthy fathers that are mentally stable, that are spiritually stable, that are physically stable. That's what we're talking about here today.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, and even just to add to that point, that what I saw throughout the studies, and a lot of people think this is common sense, but to your point is exactly that the absence of a good and present father, it didn't just have serious consequences on the child, but on the larger societal environment.
Yeah,
there was a big consequences, right? Like things like the societal norms, like divorce, incarceration was a big one, to name just a few. And how not having an absent father you're more statistically likely to do that. And there's a lot of considerable numbers of children who develop without present active fathers. And despite the increasing awareness and the importance that we're trying to portray of, hey, this is how important that is, we're seeing the societal ramifications of not allowing, not really having the fathers present, the whether it's substance abuse or and we can get into the statistics, like how suicide and anxieties and depressions and and I think that now more than ever there has to be not just active fathers in the community, but we even look at some of our policies or some of the initiatives, they're not there to help that, and how do we create an environment where we help fathers become active in prison, because that's very key. You can be a dad but not be active in prison in your kid's life. You can be a dad and for all words, excuse the language, be a dirtbag, and I can talk about I had a very dysfunctional upbringing on with my dad and stepdad, my mom and my stepmom, but like learning to even there I had to learn how to be a father on my own to my children. And I definitely agree with that point.
Are you okay with touching on the upbringing that you had with your father, because I think for the audience to know, we see George where you're at today, and all the amazing things you do. And this is the first time I haven't seen you with a suit and tie on in a while. And like, look at that guy, man! The House of Representatives and all, just some, you rubbing shoulders with some pretty important people. But your background is very, very interesting. Your background and your upbringing. You had all the ingredients to be in jail. You had all the ingredients to be an alcoholic, a drug addict on the streets. You had all the ingredients to be a violent man, and maybe even take someone's life in the streets. But you're here. So if you could just touch on, it's up to you.
So, disclaimer, for the most part, I've reconciled with my parents, but parents divorced when I was really young. There was domestic violence involved. There was alcohol, drugs. Both parents, shacked up with other people, step parents, and then they got married. But I suffered a lot of abuse, physical abuse from my dad, physical abuse from my stepdad, physical abuse, mental abuse from my mom and stepmom, just very dysfunctional, very chaotic type of upbringing. And again, we've reconciled since then. I'm an adult now, I've learned to forgive, but definitely a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of physical abuse, a lot of, emotional. And this is the stuff that, I had active, like my stepdad pretty much, was with my mom and raised us, but he dealt with us the way he knew how to do it because, and since then my stepdad and I have reconciled, I've actually just went to go visit them not too long ago, but even he apologized. This is how I grew up. This is what I thought, and then, the same with my dad. My biological father never had his father around, so he didn't know how to deal. So that's one thing that I can say is, on the child abuse side, like how that does affect the children, and I think me throughout my life, even though I had the father figures there, it was so chaotic. It was so dysfunctional that, joining the Marine Corps, that was really the time I was starting to get more father figures in my life in a positive way. But definitely chaotic childhood, a lot of craziness. And I look back to the time I was 4 or 5, I can remember certain situations that I saw, whether it was domestic violence or substance abuse or being abused myself physically, like, getting beat up. And I'm not going to say which parent, but I mean, I got even stabbed in the back one time with a knife. I went to my parents, and, slapped around, punched, just craziness. And it's crazy because not when I became a father, that's, I think I've spanked my oldest daughter, who's 17, like 2 times. And one time was because she cussed at someone when she was 5. So I spanked her. And the other time was because she almost got suspended for fighting. But like I wanted to break that tradition of, especially in a Latino family, Mexican, the abuse, So definitely can attest to that matters. And, and for me, it was like breaking that generational curse, through Jesus Christ, of course, first, but then learning, I don't want to repeat the mistakes of my father or stepdad that they're, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's what I'm going to ask you another question to touch on while we're here, because Jose has a similar, his upbringing with his father. And praise God, I had a great dad who was definitely heavy-handed, but he was, I didn't have those issues. My stuff comes from trauma and just stuff that happened to me. So I know that there's somebody out there right now that says, that's how I am, that's how I was raised, that's how I am now, that's how I'm always gonna be. And like it or leave it. And I'm the man. And if you don't like it, there's a door. And my way or the highway. And what would you say to that mentality of men that might be listening, or somebody is shooting them this podcast, or shooting them a clip that we might edit out for this?
Yeah, I would say no. We definitely we're very intelligent creatures. I think one is learning that emotional intelligence. He's from the hood too, so I think that you can break it. I'm not gonna say I don't what's the word? I don't validate how they feel, but we wake up every day choosing what type of man do we want to be. Do I want to be, do I want to use that as an excuse, or be the opposite? But of course we deal with our traumas, address the issues, but it's possible, because again, like I have 4 daughters, and like I said, I've spanked my oldest like twice, and now that she's a senior, like, I should have spanked her more, but it's crazy.
Just
but
kidding.
like, I'm not kidding. But like, it's like, how do you, like, you can break that? I really think, because I'm telling you, like, when I say I was abused, bro, like, I would get beat to the point where I couldn't go to school because I would have black eyes and swollen lips and just bruises because they were afraid that CPS may get involved, or the cops, and one of my parents, I'm not gonna say which one, is a felon and all this stuff, but like you can break that and stop it, from being transferred over to your children. So I believe we have the power in God, of course, but also the cognitive decision where we can make moral and ethical choice. Like, I am not going to do that. I'm going to be different.
Yeah. And I think that's that for sure is something that resonates with me as well. And that the Heavenly Father is the one, the resource that has continued to really shape me. And then also too, shout out to my baby girl, my wife. She's helped me a lot. She is a helpmate, and so when you get married and you get to that level of fatherhood and marriage and so forth, man, the women begins to even mold you. And it's kind of a true statement, and not to say you're weak or anything like that. The woman is a helpmate according to scripture, and they're also very powerful, very intelligent as well, and that really shapes some of our areas that we may not feel intelligent on, and so yeah, go ahead. You got more? Go for it.
Yeah, no. With that, it's like adding to that. It's like, definitely thankful for my wife. She's definitely, I'm not a cuddler, but she's been showing me how to cuddle, So, and I have 4 daughters, bro. Like the babies, they're like cuddly.
Yeah.
I'm a softie with them. Everyone else, not a softie, but with them I am. But yeah, and I think too, like, again, we were talking about this a little bit ago. Society, man, society downplays so much. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen that video where Chris Rock is joking. He's like, Arbor Day is ranked number some 10 for most celebrate holiday, and Father's Day is like 20. It's crazy. Like the role of a man, the role social and emotional. And I want to get, I have a lot of notes, but I'm not going to read them all. But what I ended up doing was I ended up interviewing, like I said, 8 participants throughout the study. And the interviews were conducted with one-on-one, just talking. And it was just so very organic. And a lot of the data that I collected from them was how not having a father around, the ones that didn't, who grew up without a father, felt that economic stress. We know we're providers in a sense, right? They felt that insecurity, that instability, that lack of protection, And then this was me interviewing men and women, and they felt that if they would have had a father, things could have been different. This could have worked out, versus the ones that I interviewed and that said the opposite, right? How the discipline and authority, you talked about that, how a lot of the respondents indicated that discipline and authority were less enforced in homes without fathers. And these are coming from the mouths of the participants in this research, right? The lack of discipline, the structured, right? The foundation, and it led sometimes to them, because of that, they were more open to challenging societal rules and norms, right? Which goes back to what you were saying, Patrick. And, just even the absence of a father, how the emotional well-being affects a boy and a girl differently. The emotional well-being does affect them. The absence of a father figure was frequently associated with the lack of emotional support and protection. And a lot of the young ladies that are interviewed said that I didn't feel that protection. I didn't feel that comfort, right? And a lot of the participants who didn't have that, they felt emotionally numb growing up. They felt like they had to learn to, like the young man would say, well, because I didn't have a dad, I had to learn how to just suppress my emotions and keep it to myself and never say anything. And knowing that there was a noticeable void that only can be supplied by the guidance of the father, and a lot of them said that they felt that in order to navigate their feelings, they would just shut them down, So it's definitely one of those things that we see now that, I believe, again, people can take this as they want, but in the societal climate that we live in, men are under attack and they've diminished the role of a father. And there are deadbeat dads out there, don't get me wrong. But if you understood, man, just the way God created us, just the way God himself created us, like the importance, the role you provide, you would be like, your mind would just be blown. Like, you're more than just a guy who works a 9 to 5. Like, your words have meanings, your instructions, your as you pour into your kids. I've learned a lot from raising a 17-year-old. Those of you that don't know my story, it was I was young and dumb in the Marines, had a one-night stand, went to Iraq, came back, and I found out through MySpace that I had a baby. Long story, right?
MySpace.
Yeah, he said, I'm old. MySpace.
Took a DNA test. The rest is history. It's been 50-50 for the last 17 years.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But and then having my daughter and, all this, my stepdaughter, being a stepfather, learning to navigate that, coming from being a stepchild and not repeating those mistakes where I treat my kids one way and my stepchildren different. No, like it's so much you learn. And I've learned, things that I wish I would have known as a father with my oldest. They say you grow up with your firstborn, right? I was a kid when I had her. I was 18 versus what I know now with my stepdaughter who's 12, because I've already had a 12-year-old and now a 2-year-old and a 1-year. Like, you learn these things. So I definitely think that involved fathers, like it really details a structured upbringing, and it really sets clear expectations within society itself. But when you remove that, we're in the mess that we're in right now because of fathers that have been removed. And I think this is something that's been done throughout the last maybe 50 years of history, how to like nitpick and pull the fathers away. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I was going to hit on something you said a little bit about the uttermost importance of being a father. And I was listening to a podcast. It was actually just like a sermon for men, and it was by Miles Monroe. I think that's his name. But anyways, he talked about the principles of a father. And one of the main principles that really stuck out to me is that in Genesis 1, verse 26, the Lord orchestrated the way man was created. And the significant things for me that really just hit me in true revelation is when God said, let us make mankind in our image. Man, and King's Virgin says, let us make man in my image. And basically saying now that he can rule over the fish in the sea and in the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over the creatures, and move along the ground. And to me, that revelation that hit is that the Lord created man in his image to be one with him. And then he gave dominion over the earth before anything was even established. And so along the line, he established a woman, which became out of the womb, because a rib came from the man's rib, and now becomes a helpmate. And so the Lord already kind of orchestrates the dominionship of a man. I don't even know if that's the right word, but the dominionship of a man to take authority over the land before anything was created. Now, that's not mean dominance. That means you're created from the source, right? And so now we're seeing, like, for me, that revelation is like, oh my God, I'm pretty weak in some of these areas, right? I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect man. I'm not a perfect father. But that true revelation for me has kind of just sparked some more light and fire and questions in my life to get better in these areas of faith, family, community, emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, and financially, because we're created to build. That's what we're created to do. So,
and that's what Journeyman really is encompassing.
Yeah.
Where we talk, we're at our church. Everybody goes to a different church. Everybody maybe even a different denomination. But you have your church friends and your church. But when are we talking about? Hey, I don't know about a lot of statistics. Right. I don't know a lot about the Bible. I'm just trying to stay married.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to not, flip a table when my kid pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to not, quit my job because I'm frustrated with my boss. I'm just trying to stay off this phone with stuff I probably shouldn't be looking at. That's when can we talk about that? Another thing I want to, and I know you're gonna go more statistics, but when you said something earlier too about the silence. The silence, and that really captured my heart, because how easy is it for men, and I would even say it, the wives, to just shut down, and because our pendulum swings so far, I'm either super engaged and I'm going to deal with this, or okay, it's not going my way, I'm going to go to my room and shut the door, or I'm going to go golfing or go watch TV or whatever it may be, and I'm just not even going to be with the family until everything cools down. Then I'll come back. And what we see a lot of times is our kids start acting like that.
Yeah,
our kids shut down, and there's no communication, there's no conversation. So they'll go into the rooms, they'll go on their games, they'll go on their phones, and they'll just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Hey, I'd like to talk. No, let's just leave me alone. And so maybe the kids are seeing that and learning that from the parents, where it's everything or shut down. That's a very, very dangerous. Isolation is a very, very dangerous thing that the enemy uses. Any thoughts on that, George?
Yeah. No, I'm actually pulling that up right now. Just the stats on suicide amongst men right now is it's out the roof. We know that globally they say that the death suicide for men, it's like 1.8 times more among men than women, right? And the stats may have changed, but I can't find it on my notes here. But I think too that a lot of the times as men, because of our upbringing, a lot of it, whether it was good or bad or societal, we tend to just close off isolation, because we have these responsibilities, right? We get up, we do the 9 to 5, we provide, and we don't address them. And I think that one thing, growing up the way I grew up, that's how I grew up. And then being a girl dad, I can't do that. I had to learn how to regulate that. And I think that in personal reflections is a lot of times one of the lessons I've learned is like something that I didn't have was, involve father in a positive way. So they say that, this data shows that when they teach you these things, when you have an involved father and mother too, of course, but we're talking about fathers right now, there are higher levels of regulation and how to communicate, because that communication is key. And for a lot of men, it is easier to just close off. It's what we do. Yeah. We're just wired that way, or societal norms or what are they going to say about me? They're going to think I'm weak, or, what if I reach out and they judge me? So we keep it in. And a lot of times, I don't know if you guys ever seen those videos on like YouTube or Instagram where like they're showing like 3 months before, 2 days before suit, and the dad's like with his kids and he kills himself the next day. Like it happens a lot more often than we think. So I do believe that that there is an importance, to anyone hearing this, that if you are a dad, and there's a lot of resources out there for single mothers, but the single fathers, the divorced fathers, the ones that are stuck in churches that may not be able to get the help they need because what is my church people going to say about me? Like there are real issues that men and fathers go through, and I think through community like Journeyman, we're able to establish these kingdom-minded relationships, these communal relationships where they can come. We're not going to judge you because none of us here are perfect. But right. Building that relation, and even then, like us here as friends, like we've known each other for quite some time, but even with each other, it's hard to put our guard down because we're programmed that way. And I think that's something that needs to be taught. But if we can keep our men constantly busy, that mind battle, garbage in, garbage out, right? It's what time where they're going to really ask for help, until you see those videos like so-and-so committed suicide, so-and-so committed suicide, so-and-so, and like you may see the pictures and the happy this and that, but they're going through depression because they don't know how to self-regulate or ask for help. So I do believe that communities like this is key right now. Again, I don't want to get political or anything like that, but you look at our society, men are generally they're under attack. You can go on Google right now and put my wife's yelling at me, I need help. And the first thing that's going to pop up, you can Google it right now. It's going to say, well, what are you doing wrong? You need to do this. But if you put my husband's yelling at me, the first thing that pops up is here's a domestic violence hotline. 2 Google searches, like, wow. or men, how much, help, I was a single father for a while. And, before I got married to my wife, and it's hard. Like there was not a lot out there for me as a single dad. There was not a lot out there. I was just expected to do. So I do think that men internalize this. We're very, we compartmentalize a lot. We know how to do, but it's not healthy for us. And I think we're learning that. And now as we're, in generations changing how to work with that, because if we don't, we will repeat the mistakes of our fathers if we had not the best fathers and their fathers. So
and I talk about how great my dad was with myself and my little brother, but with my older brother it was different. And so my dad was a young dad at 18, and we've said it here on the podcast before, and it was a saying that says, I didn't realize when I was a kid that I was watching my parents grow up. Ouch. Because the parents are 21, 22, even teenagers, but they're still growing up. And my father and my older brother had a very tumultuous, very negative relationship, and I remember seeing it growing up. And so my dad was heavy-handed with me, and by the time it's the baby never gets whooped. Yeah. But my older brother went through a lot, and at the age of 19, my older brother committed suicide. Wow. And so I remember, and I've talked about it on the podcast before, but the trauma of that and finding the body and all the dynamics that went with it.
I didn't know till years later in talking to family members that a lot of them had blamed my dad because of the relationship he had. And well, he was depressed, or he was on drugs, or he was whatever the excuse was. He never took responsibility of, I had a really bad relationship with my son and I didn't treat him right. And because of that, this might have contributed to his suicide eventually. He would even say, my mom, of course, was, suicide. That's a whole other podcast. We'll definitely be touching on that this next year. But the dynamics of that, how it affects the families, how it affects, it's not just that person. And it's been almost 35 years now. And I'm talking about it on a podcast. So trust me, it stays with you.
Yeah.
But how do we know as fathers with our kids that seed isn't planted of insecurity, doubt, frustration, I'm not good enough. And eventually that seed might grow into suicide. Yeah. So we have to be careful, even as young fathers or fathers that are trying to turn the page and trying to switch things around. If we don't do that, the consequences of not doing that, of not making that change, could possibly be what I went through.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And you know what, man, one of the things that recognizes, just to hit on just that subject of men's mental health, suicide, and so forth. The month of June is dedicated for men's mental health, according to society right now. There's only one date of celebration of fathers. And to me, that's a concern. And so the reason that Journeyman was established is to begin to help move that needle down and get rid of that, in a sense. Let's turn men's mental health to men's celebration, something, I don't know, for the month of June, and really make an uproar in that arena, because I think the power of communities of support goes so much deeper than the areas of being told you're wrong, or being told this, or you're being told that. There's a portion of supportive communities where men can come together and begin to reflect and learn through these areas that we deal with. And the bottom line is that nobody's a perfect father besides a heavenly Father. And so when you begin to learn that, then other things begin to flow through all that. And so some lessons from fatherhood, some personal reflections that maybe we can dive into, man. And what do you think about that, George?
No, yeah. And, just to go back on your point, obviously I have a daughter who I shared custody with her mom a couple of years ago. I went through probably one of the craziest things with her that I've ever been through. Didn't know how to deal with it. And I remember, Patrick, you've gone through some stuff in your life. You were able to guide me. And I think because, you have a daughter too, and we have children, and girls are just, man, different, man. I don't have any sons, bro. I don't even know how I would act if I had a son. I wouldn't know what to do.
I really wanted I wanted a girl.
You still can't have kids.
No, I'm done. I'm done. And I say I want a girl. Like, I joke with my boys because, like, I don't get any love in a sense, and that way. But I got a girl dog. I'm a girl dog.
Hey, that counts. But no, and like I didn't know, but I think, like you're saying, like that's what this is for. I was able to get guidance. You were able to help me in the time when I was going through something with my daughter that I had never experienced. I didn't know what to do, and I think those are definitely lessons of fatherhood. And a lot of times people reflect on the lessons from their fathers, related to whether it's the typical stuff, the hard work, the integrity, the perseverance, but we don't realize that. What I've realized as a father is that some of these lessons, they really do shape how my daughters are going to approach certain challenges. Like you were talking about with the suicide and different things, right? How they're going to approach certain relationships. I'm a girl dad. So one day some young man's going to try to come, and I got a lot of guns though. So I got a lot of guns. I'm not as mean, what is it? Not as mean, not as lean, but still a Marine. So I'm ready for anyone that tries to date my daughters. But there's relationships, and for instance, there was a study published by the Journey of Family Psychology that found children who perceived their fathers as supportive, emotionally, mentally, physically, like being there, supportive and involved, tended to have higher levels of self-esteem and academic achievement just by being supported, by being involved, and I think a lot of these lessons, there's impacts, how us as fathers, we can influence how our children approach, leadership, partnerships, relationships, their personal growth. And another study done by the National Fatherhood Initiative showed that children who with involved fathers were more likely to exhibit empathy.
Yeah.
Show that. And a lot of us men, we don't know how to exhibit empathy. They were more engaged in positive social behaviors. That's deep, especially the way our society is right now. They were more likely to be in positive social behavior. And I think that's really great, lessons we've learned.
And we say society, but quite honestly, men, get off your phones.
Yeah.
Spend quality time with your kids.
Yeah.
And if you have 3 or 4 kids, it is great to go on family trips and do family stuff, but make time one-on-one.
Yes, that's key.
One-on-one. Okay, just me and you, we're going to get ice cream. Just me and you, we're going to the park.
Yep.
Make time individually for your children. They will remember that for the rest of their lives. Make time. Get off your phones.
And it's key that you say that because I was right. It's like for me too, but like with my oldest, since she was little, daddy and daughter dates. With my daughter Ruby, daddy and daughter dates. With the babies, they're too little right now. But like, say I buy my wife flowers, I'll always bring a little gift for the girls. Like just because for me being a girl dad, like I'm the first example of a man they're gonna see in their life.
Yep.
And am I the kind of dude? Am I the kind of man that I would want my daughters to date? And there was times where I was like, dude, I'm a dirtbag. I'm not out there doing heinous stuff, but like my attitude, or I don't show emotion. Like sometimes, thank God for my wife. She's teaching me how to, show emotion. But like, sometimes I'm just there sitting there. Like you said, you zone out. And I'm like, let me find out some dirtbags doing this to my daughter. But then I'm like, dude, I do it to my wife. I zone out. I just sit there. I don't regulate my emotions. So I'm trying to be the father that I would want, the man that I would want my daughters to be with, that when my daughters grow up, not because we're perfect, when by far we are not a perfect couple, but when they grow up, they're like, I want to have what my mom and dad had, and I think that, like you said, key is engagement, is spending quality time with your children. A lot of dads that I know, kids want to go to the park, like, oh, I don't do that. I don't do that. Maybe you're too caught up in football, or you're doing all this, which is not bad. You're so busy with that and work and self, but you got your kids, these your seedlings, they're a part of you that are just craving that attention. And the Bible says that the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and he walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And as men, the voice that we play in our children's life, if we don't get involved, if we don't get their ear, somebody else will. Somebody else will begin to whisper a bunch of nothing. Somebody else will, try to get involved, and that's the role we play: the protector, the provider, but also present. The Bible says that God is ever present help. Are we ever present for our children? And that was good, because a lot of times this phone, everything else we'll give our undivided attention. And I forgot what the numbers were, but by the time a child is, I think it's 12 or 17, you would have already spent 85% of your time with them.
Wonderful man by the name of David Smolgen. He's in his 80s, and he said one time, "What if we treated our Bibles like we treat our phones?" And it's the first thing we look at when we wake up. And how many hours a day do we spend on our phones? What if we spent that much time in our Bibles? And if I left the house, would I turn around and go back to the house because I forgot my Bible? he just says, "Oh man, just spit these words," and I'm just crushed. Like I'm just like, I am the dirt bag, man. And I think I was probably on social media as he was talking.
Turn this into an altar
call.
But
he said, "What if we treated our Bibles like we treat our phones?" But and what I want, the reason I'm touching on that too is, that's what keeps us in line.
Yeah.
I know my dad, my mom would tell me that my dad would look at me and just like, after I became a Christian, before, that's a whole other story. And she would go, he doesn't understand that the way you are with the kid, you didn't learn it from him, that you learned that from God. God taught me that. God taught me how to be a father.
Oh yeah.
God taught me that.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree. God taught me how to be a dad.
I think that is we're going to go into the next segment here, but I think part of everything, the lesson, the life lessons, is all part of the journey. You know, don't take this and like, oh man, they're trying to fix this. That's not what we're saying here. These are lessons that we've all kind of combined and learned and researched and studied, and this is the whole point of the podcast, Sharpen. You know, go ahead.
As you say that, this one hits me hard. You know, I'm not a crybaby, so
yeah.
I am.
Oh man, George, I want to see George cry. Come on.
Me and Jose can cry on the spot.
We can't all be crying.
and we got degree in cuddling.
That's good.
You put the skinnier guy between the two buff guys. You know, my 2-year-old Amraya, she's gonna be 3. She likes to play soccer. Like she likes to go outside and kick. And I don't care how tired I am. I don't care how sometimes I'm pulling 15, 16-hour days, school work. I play because I always play back in my mind Nevaeh. So when Nevaeh was little, she would say, Dad, let's go play soccer. And I'd be like, oh, I'm too tired. Or I will play later. Like, can we go to the park? And she's 17 now. She's 17, and that's time I can't get back. So I think about stuff like that. The lessons learned, the engagement. And you're right, you know, the phone. I remember just being on my phone, being lazy. I would get off of work. When I was in the Marine Corps, and just thinking back, like, so, you know, living, you know, my daughter Ruby, like she'll want to go and do something. Sometimes, you know, it's hard to get up and want to go, but I try to make this effort because with my oldest, I think about, I was like, you know, let's go play soccer. Oh, we'll play later. We'll do that later. Then I'll be too tired. So when my young one says that, I'm like, I think about that. Like that is time that was lost. Like learning, I've had to, and I don't know, men can agree with this, learning to balance work and family life, dealing with that parental stress, dealing with maintaining a positive relationship as a co-parent with my daughter's mom, you know, and it's hard, you know, and studies have shown that fathers who actively address these type of challenges, they, through healthy coping with like mechanisms like community, like journeyman and faith, it really helps them manage and make them equipped for the roles they play as a dad. So for me, it's like, how do I balance that life, work, relationship, focusing with my wife, with my kids? And that's one thing like I've tried to do every day. I'm not saying this to sound like I'm better than, but like, because I was always also working with my oldest and I was tired. I remember one time we were at the park and I remember I was just on my phone, bro. I was on my phone. Griseda Park, we were out there doing an event. And afterwards she wanted to go to the monkey bars. My oldest was like probably like 8. And she was trying to do spins. She's like, Dad, look. And I was just on my phone. And I think about that. I'm like, dude, like I wasted time. So this dumb phone, man, I'm thinking about going back to a flip phone, bro.
Wait, your youngest one is 2?
She's 2 now.
She's 2.
No, but I have one that's 1.
That's your okay. So that's your 4th 1-year-old.
Yeah.
Do you see that? Like you're learning with that.
It's like God's giving us a second, third, fourth chance.
The journey.
Yes. And it's like, I think about that. I know, you know, we're not supposed to condemn ourselves, but you think about it like, man, and she's 17.
Yeah.
Statistically, I will have already spent 85. I don't remember the exact number. So if you're out there, don't say I'm a fraud, but the exact number, but it's like almost by the time they're 18, you will have spent like 80 or 90% of your time with it because it becomes. So I think about that. I was like, man, so like, do I want to get up and play soccer after a 15-hour day? No, I just want to go home, take a dump, take a shower, go to sleep, you know?
Take that dump, though.
The bathrooms be dirty at school. But I try to make that effort because I'm like, they're growing up. Like, my 2-year-old's about to be 3.
Yeah.
The 11-year-old's about to be 12.
And George, what I hear you saying also is we're not just trying, as men, we're not trying to just be the bare minimum.
No.
Yeah.
You know, we're not trying to be good dads. We're trying to be awesome dads. We're not trying to be good husbands. We're trying to be awesome husbands. And you mentioned Chris Rock talking about the Father's Day or something like that. But a long time ago, there was another one he would say, you see some guys, they're like, man, I feed my kids. I work and I support them. And he's like, man, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, what do you want? Do you want an award for that? Like, you're supposed to do that. So, you know, when you see, well, I work all day and I come home and, you know, and I provide that, great. Praise God. That's awesome. But that's what you're supposed to do. We're not going to give a pat on the back for something we're supposed to be doing. What is the extra mile between, what is that variant between a good dad and an awesome dad?
Yeah.
And so and not a good husband, an awesome husband, not a good brother, but an awesome brother, not a good son, but an awesome son.
Yeah.
And so that's the gap we're trying to fill.
That's so good, man. Let me jump in real quick on that margin. Think about, okay, you're a business owner right now, and all your days and focus is about margin, profit margin. If you're a business owner right now, you know what I'm talking about. Your profit margin is your revenue, what you bring in to celebrate, what you bring in to put in your pocket, what you bring in to build wealth, what you bring in to buy things, what if you begin to look at your profit margin as your family on the areas that like you want to build your profit margin to be at a level that what me and my boy Miguel like to say all the time, and George and everybody, we say it to the moon.
To the moon.
We want that thing to go to the moon, right? And so how do you do that? Well, maybe these systemic things that you've dealt with in the past, yeah, maybe they're on you, but you don't have to stay there. You don't. I mean, you're talking to 3 guys that I've been on a journey of fatherhood, becoming a better man, becoming a better brother, becoming all that. And it's not ever going to be perfect. If you ever think that we're perfect, man,
far from it.
Very far from it.
We'd be happy to prove you wrong.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know about being happy.
Right.
Why don't you tell them about 2002, Patrick? What?
Yeah,
No, man.
exactly.
As long as before I was saved,
Yeah,
man. What you talking about?
exactly.
You think we're perfect? Call our wives.
Yeah, exactly. The wives know. And so the thing is that when you begin to step into this arena, this is what we're doing here. We're talking about this arena of being a better father, being a better man, and to help you in these areas of weakness. And we're sharpening each other as we're even talking about this. So the importance of a community of support in the areas of faith, family, community is about commitment and accountability towards that profit margin.
Yes, sir.
Because you're going to grow, so
yeah. No, and to answer your question, very good point, Jose. And that kind of goes with what Patrick was saying, is like, what do we do to just not be average? I think about 1 Corinthians 13.
Yeah.
Verse 4, where it says, love is large, it's incredibly patient, love is gentle and consistently kind to all. It refuses to be jealous. When blessings come to someone else, love does not brag, love is not, boastful or disrespect, like, man, like that extra step, because at the end of the day, the role we play with our children is one of those things that like as a father, like I'm learning and just working with each other, like how to set those goals for improvement. How can I be a better dad? It's networks like this, because I don't have all the answers, but I've gone through some things with 4 girls. One of them, who's about to be 18. You've gone through some things. You have all adult. We're all at different levels of life, and I think that's where community comes in, and such, participating, like, making that time for, like you said, that family time that's crucial. Even if it's, simple things, man, getting around the dinner table and eating with your kids and putting the phones away. Like, this has destroyed all that. And now they sell you an app that shuts off the Wi-Fi so you can have dinner, bro. It's like, what?
Right.
What? So it's like, wow, and I think also, in the fatherhood is like recognizing that other fathers, recognizing the efforts that you're putting in for the active and present dad, recognizing and offering these resources. Maybe you're a dad that's learning, you're a new dad, that's where we can help each other. Iron sharpens iron, right? Being able to provide resources like this. Like, we don't have the answers. We're not here to fix you, but we can walk alongside with you. Like, for me, it's like, when I had the issue with my daughter, I reached out to my brother here, reached out to Patrick, and they were able to help me. Like, because to me, I want to just like beat some people up, bro, and do some things, but like, how do I react? And I think these community movements of men coming together is needed ever, because our communities are hurting. If you want to talk about equity and DEI and all that stuff, the Black and brown communities are hurting.
Yes.
The poor communities, the single mother, there's a lot going on that when men step into this role, like that God literally created us for, there's changes. There's societal changes from the national level to the worldwide, so yeah.
Yeah.
And statistically, George is really a big statistics number. He has the most education in anybody in this room.
Right.
And so
yeah.
But
That's true.
And this is for the parents out there. I am spiritually, mentally, and physically taking care of myself, and I am focusing on all those areas. And my marriage is still a little jacked up, and my kids are still jacked. I'm doing all this, and it's still the same. That's not to say that if you do all these things, your kids are going to be perfect and your marriage is going to be perfect. But statistically, you're in a better range. The chances of this marriage working out with faith, family, community is higher. The chances of your kids, turning out well is higher. But that does not guarantee you can do everything right. You can do everything possibly that how the best of your ability, and this marriage still not work out. and do the best of your ability, and these kids still maybe end up in jail or end up on drugs or in gangs, you can do everything. So don't beat yourself up. You do the best you can with what you have. And as long as you're utilizing these resources and trying your best, give yourself some credit. If you're listening out there, give yourself some credit. I'm doing the best I can with what I have. And, I see these other stories and these other men and listening to these podcasts. Don't hesitate to reach out, but keep moving forward. Keep moving forward.
Yeah. There's a quote, anonymous. They don't know who it is, but they say a father is someone you look up to no matter how tall you are. That's the type of dad I want to be. I don't want to just be a dad. I want to be a father, but I don't want to just be a father. I want to be a dad where my kids can look up to me. And there's another quote where it says, to the world, you're a dad. To our family, you're the world. Like that time, that quality time learning. Yeah. And you're right, Patrick. Like our kids are going to grow up one day. They're going to make their own decisions. But even that in itself, even if they made the decisions that you completely disagree with, but they know they have a father there waiting for your child to come home. So I think that definitely plays a big impact. And again, with society the way it is, like, man, this is a call to action.
Yeah.
We need to start. Maybe there's already some father initiatives, but a movement for dads. Like, hey, we're here. We got your back. Journeyman, we're here. We're here to support. We don't have all the answers, but we could walk alongside with you as we navigate this fatherhood, because fatherhood isn't easy. If it was easy, there'd be more dads that are active. That's reality.
Yeah.
How much time we have, Jose?
Yeah, we're about 5 minutes in. We're
Okay, so
wrap it up.
I was looking for a quote. It says, "It's easier to raise strong boys than to repair broken men."
Jesus,
that's deep,
man.
That's
and
he's like, drop the mic.
That's true. Let's just close the segment there. That is definitely truth, man. I think that right there highlights the reason why Journeyman was created is to create a space for men to be in that area of vulnerability, connection, relational, to repair themselves. Not for us to repair. We're not going to give you a program A to Z, but to establish that community of support for one another so you can get better in those areas.
And we'll be having another event soon.
Yes, October 11th. Stay tuned for the location.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing another creative space of just connecting with men and building relationship and dive into some topics for one another.
You can meet George.
Yeah, you'll meet George.
You can meet George. He might have a suit on.
Yeah.
Hey.
No, he'd be suited up differently. But it will be there and here in Modesto if you're in the region. Even if you're 45 minutes away, come and connect. Because the idea of this type of space is for you to take this and run it in your region and create that brothership throughout the valley, throughout the state, throughout the country, throughout the world, because it is an epidemic. It is a pandemic. It's a red alert pandemic. Yes. I believe that that men are suffering in areas of faith, family, community. That we're suffering mentally. We're suffering emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially. We are. There's areas that we need brotherhood for, and the way that this thing turns around is not by us three clowns up here. But it's about creating communities of support to make that journey ahead and get that profit margin.
Get some flowers. Get some flowers.
Give some flowers, man. So let's close it out as we do, man. I just want to say, George, man, thank you for your hard work, man, and joining back into the studio today. We've kind of let you go for a little bit to get your education and come back and be our lawyer one of these days. Yes. And so, we got you
I
on
will
a
be
loose
scheduling George when he becomes a lawyer for all those that need a cheap lawyer.
Yeah, he's going to keep us safe.
My flowers, George, I met you 3 or 4 years ago. It's been a while. And I remember you coming out to the school I was teaching at, and you gave a presentation, and we went to lunch. And as we're walking,
he always paid for lunch, by the way.
I'm listening.
Him too.
I'm listening to you, and just this passion that you had and these ideas with Veterans in Action and some other things. And as an old man, you just hear these young people talk sometimes, and every now and then one will come around where you go, God is going to do something with this guy.
Yeah.
God is going to. And I remember looking at you, and I said, hey, brother, I just want to tell you, you're going to need a secretary.
Yeah.
And God is going to have his hands on all these ideas that you have, because I see your passion, your love for him. And things that you have no idea that are going to happen. And I'm going to walk with you every step of the way. And 4 years later, I mean, to see where you're at and just to see these amazing things with the community and politics and just all, not necessarily, but all these things that you're going into eventually, and getting your master. I mean, it's just a blessing to watch you, young man. It's just a blessing, and I want to tell you to your face that I'm going to walk with you every step of the way.
Yeah, appreciate that, bro. I'm trying not to look at his eyes.
Time and eyes, bro.
Time and eyes. That's what I kept thinking. No, definitely thank you for you both, man. And Jose introduced. I mean, it's a full circle, and I'm just thankful for this space and what you guys are doing with Journeyman and just the guests you bring. And every session is powerful. But like, yeah, I agree. And it's ironic because they're 2 board members now. For an introduction, they're my bosses. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. And, I thank you for this because we're learning together, man.
Yeah.
What other space can people come, faith, family, community be built up? And appreciate those words of wisdom, Elder.
Hey, Elder.
I'll take it.
Man.
He said I'm the elder. I'll take it.
I think, again, man, if this resonated with you today, man, type some comments in. And again, like we hope that this session was to build you in the areas of knowledge and understanding and maybe realization of certain situation through our situations. Like, this is nothing that we didn't go through that we're not talking about in different areas. And so if some of this stuff resonated, or if there's a lesson that you've learned, put it in the comments. Say, man, I did this, or there's a quote that you live by, or scripture that you live by, or something to help build men that you've learned and how you've overcome that. Now, again, Journeyman is a different breed. It is. We're a different breed. So we seek to get to the root of things to help you get better in that area. And so when we talk about these things, we want to make sure that you understand that this is not us trying to fix you. This is us sharpening each other with the hopes of you getting better in the areas of your life that you feel you need it. And so stay tuned for next month. We may continue this conversation. I don't know, man. God's doing some good things throughout Journeyman.
Oh,
yeah.
No, next month.
No, next month. Not it.
Hey,
that's right.
Todd Medina.
Thank you.
Todd Medina, former UFC fighter, the owner of Spiritual Grappler. We were going to be interviewing him. He is down south and does amazing things with orphanages in Mexico and in the Philippines. Awesome. He is wow. He is. I don't have words to what that guy is doing, but yes, we're gonna have a former UFC fighter, Todd Medina.
Todd, shout out to Todd, man. He's a blessing. He's a brother, man. And what is crazy to me is that the prophet that gave him a prophetic word, we met on Saturday. And so he's I'd sent a picture to Todd and I said, hey, you know this guy? And he's like, this guy was a pivotal moment for me to see where God was taking me.
Wait a minute. You were at an event?
That was. Oh yeah. I shout out to Encounter Church Hillmar.
Encounter Church.
Yeah. Pastor Jose and man, just very hungry to develop men. And
Hillmar, California. Little church you wouldn't even know of.
Got some good cheese.
Powerful. Jose. A powerful church in Hillmar, California. Encounter Church, Pastor Jose.
Yeah.
We love you and thank you so much for the men's conference.
It was a blessing, man. I got to meet some cool men and connect with Rex. But anyways, I sent him that picture, man, and he was like, wow. And he's told me the testimony. So Todd Medina will be with us next month. He's got a powerful testimony. He's on mission, developing folks, developing other men in what he's doing in the Fighting Training Center, but he's also working with families and kids in an orphanage in Mexico. It's beautiful. We're going to have a great conversation. So tune in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification button, share this with another man. Say, hey, take a look at this, man. Is this you? And man, we'll see you next month. All right. Peace.
But today we must take a wider look. Because of modern communication and modern technology, the whole world has become our neighborhood. And we are demographically moving closer and closer to each other, and we've become a neighborhood without becoming a brotherhood.
Journeyman is a platform where men can lay down their titles, grow together, learn from each other, and be accountable to each other. Many of us deal with several problems throughout our lives, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. At times, we may feel alone in our troubles. However, Journeyman is a space where you can feel safe expressing yourself with other men that are on the same path. Journeyman is a space for people like myself who never thought they would be living purposefully in their life.